to a brand new series called Stupid Ideas by Bad Creative. This is episode 1. As you already know, it's about the invasion. I am joined by somebody who is brand new to the channel. He knows absolutely nothing about wrestling. His name is Sid. Hello, Sid.
How you doing, Jake?
Yeah, alright. So you know nothing. Absolutely jack shit.
Shit all.
Yeah. So I thought I'd put you on the spot. I want you to tell me if you know some of these wrestlers. Do you know John Cena?
Obviously.
The Rock?
Obviously.
Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Oh, you've mentioned him.
I mentioned him.
Yeah.
The Undertaker?
Obviously.
Batista?
Yes.
You know Batista. Kane?
Again, you've mentioned him.
Triple H?
No idea.
No idea. Shawn Michaels?
Never heard of him.
Alright. The Miz?
Mentioned? No.
Roman Reigns?
Yes, you've definitely mentioned him.
Okay. Alright. We'll see how you go with some of those. Not all of them have anything to do with the invasion. John Cena wasn't even in WWE at this point. Roman Reigns is still about easily 10 years away.
Yeah, right.
He didn't debut until 2013. This took place in 2001. So, what this is about is I'm going to tell him what happened in the invasion. He's going to ask some questions, and we're going to discuss the invasion, and we'll see how he thinks that the invasion actually would have been watching it.
See how largely confused I can get.
Yes. So, the invasion is known as the biggest missed opportunity in wrestling history. Or WWE history, at least. So, yeah, they had gold, and they made it into shit. Which, it's WWE, so I wouldn't put it past them. So it's a backstory. It takes place in 2001. The WWF, I'll probably refer to them to WWE. If I don't, it's the same thing.
Okay.
They purchased WCW, which was their rival, big rival. Because they were doing very badly in the ratings because they're shit. It had mostly to do with them giving contracts to Hulk Hogan, you know him? Yeah, Hogan and all the real big guys that come over from WWE. They gave them big contracts that said, you get paid no matter what.
Right.
Millions and millions of dollars to just not even show up.
Yeah, okay, right. They proceeded to then not perform.
Well, no, they did, but they also said in the contract, you get complete creative control over your character.
Right, yeah.
So if you don't want to lose, you don't have to lose.
Gotcha.
And if they do that to one person, somebody else wants it.
Yeah.
Somebody else. All your top guys now have it. So now everybody doesn't want to lose. So now they're not fighting each other. It's just gone to shit for WCW.
Bit of a mess.
Yeah. So when WWE brought them out, they got their wrestlers, their tapes, all that sort of shit. They got everything. They could make a new WCW if they wanted, which they were going to do.
Okay.
Just the fans shit on the first match that they put on, and they went, we're not doing that. So, yeah. However, they didn't pick up the contracts of all the big guys that had those
No,
fat contracts.
if they were terrible contracts, then...
Yeah, well, those contracts were literally, you can stay at home and you'll still get paid until that contract expires.
Yeah.
So they did, because WWE went, we're not paying $10 million for you. Especially when we can wait a year and you'll be with us anyway, because there's nobody else in town. ECW, which does come into this, they were all about extreme. So setting things on fire, lots of weapons, pretty much whatever you wanted to do. New Jack would try to kill people in the company, mostly Vic Grimes, but yeah, I think he got fired for it, but he did it again.
You'd hope something happened.
Yeah, but anyway, the mass transit incident happened on ECW as well, which was a 17-year-old kid was fighting New Jack. He was meant to bleed, but he didn't. So New Jack made him bleed and severed arteries in his head, so he wouldn't stop bleeding.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's not...
Now, the kid did say he was 18. His dad said he was 18, but then they ended up getting sued. ECW went, we're not doing this shit because we don't have money. New Jack, you take this.
You're the one that made him do it.
Yeah. So ECW folded because they had money troubles. And WWE brought them out too. So yeah,
Bit of a monopoly going here.
yes,
Yeah, right.
yeah. That in about 2002 is when they got another rival, and well, they pretty much just went latter day WCW on it and got all the big names that had left the company.
Yeah.
So that didn't work either. That is what Impact Wrestling is now.
Oh, okay.
So if I talk about Impact, probably will because we'll do more episodes. That's TNA.
Okay.
Original day TNA is Impact Wrestling now. So what happened when WWE brought WCW? Well, that ended the Monday Night Wars, which was programming WCW Nitro versus WWF Raw is War.
And was that super popular?
Oh yeah, that's what. If the Monday Night Wars didn't exist, wrestling wouldn't exist now.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
I was thinking about it the other day. What happened if Stone Cold never became Stone Cold? And you probably don't have wrestling.
Right. Fans just would have.
Well, WCW would have died the same way it did anyway.
Mm-hmm.
WWE wouldn't have made it out of the 90s.
Okay.
TNA then wouldn't have shown up because there was no competition for them. And Jeff Jarrett, who started TNA, well, he would still be in WCW anyway. So that wouldn't have happened. New Japan wouldn't have gotten as big because there wouldn't be so many Americans
To feed it.
Yeah. Like, not that New Japan is American based.
Reliant.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Like Kenny Omega is a big name. He moved over from New Japan to AEW, which you would have heard of.
Mm.
Yes. So AEW, that wouldn't exist. But Kenny Omega wouldn't have gone to to New Japan, which that then he helped it get so big. Finn Balor did the same. AJ Styles did the same, but all of them guys wouldn't have been there. So yeah, I reckon it would just die. But yeah, so the Monday Night Wars ran from the 4th of September 1995 to March 26, 2001, which is when WWE brought WCW. And a quick note on WCW's success. From June 17th, 1996, they had a winning streak that lasted for 83 weeks. They beat WWE in the ratings 83 weeks in a row. In that time, the idiot that helped run it, Eric Bischoff, who's not really an idiot, but he is, he would spoil what would happen because WWE was taped and WCW was live, so they'd go live a few minutes early and say, oh yeah, and guess what's going to happen on Raw tonight? Here you go. And tell them what happened.
One way to take a competitor's ratings.
Yes. So it was smart until he said...
Kind of a dick move. But...
Yeah, yes. He is a dick. But it was smart until he said Mankind wins the WWF title. And everybody went, oh, we want to watch that. But Mankind is a big name.
Right, yeah.
Not that he was a big name per se. He was just a fan favourite. Everybody loved Mankind. Everyone loved Mick Foley, who is Mankind, or Cactus Jack, or Dude Love.
Didn't matter if you'd spoiled it for us. We want to see it anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah. So the invasion is exactly what it sounds like, by the way. It's an invasion of WCW and ECW stars.
Okay.
Which ECW come into it a bit later. But, yeah.
So a whole bunch of wrestlers leaving one group.
Company, yeah.
Coming into WWE.
Yeah, so when WCW was brought out, obviously they got the contracts to all the minor stars, I guess. And so then they thought, well, we've got all these new people. That's when they were going to start the new WCW show. And they then put the main event on whatever Raw it was. I think it was a Raw. And, yeah, bombed. So they went, no, we're not doing that. And then they had the idea, let's have them invade our show and try and take it over.
Okay.
So, yeah, and the owner of WCW, Shane McMahon, who is Vince's son, Vince owns WWF, owns WCW as well, but it was brought out from underneath him. Like, the episode where they brought it out, Shane gets on the Titantron and says to Vince, so you're right. The contract for WCW does say McMahon. Shane McMahon. Shane's now got WCW. So eventually they sort of bring in ECW and Steph runs that, which is his daughter.
Okay.
Vince's daughter, because you don't know. Yeah, Stephanie McMahon is married to Triple H, by the way. So that's a tie in there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to need a map.
Triple H, I believe, stays loyal to WWF.
Okay.
His wife owns ECW, which is a part of the Alliance, which is invading WWF.
Right. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. So what happened? Obviously, the biggest issue that they had was they had no big stars to invade with.
Yeah.
You know, they had Booker T and DDP and guys like that, but you didn't have Hogan or Flair or Nash or anybody that sort of was big.
The people the fans were asking for.
Yeah, they didn't have any of them. So they just sort of, everyone sort of, whatever, okay, that's cool, I guess. I'm not saying that you do buy their contracts either. Like, you buy some of them, but you don't buy them all.
Yeah.
You just get so many. Like, just enough to give you sort of a hold, you know. WCW is a threat.
Give you a little bit of a chance to build up those smaller ones you mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like they need, you know, 1, 2, I mean, you'd probably bring in the NWO, which is what made WCW so big. Also ruined it for them because WCW ended up just going, well, the NWO's running everything. That was Hall, Nash, and Hogan. They'd sort of come together. They all had the big contracts that said, we don't have to lose. And so they kept winning, and everybody went, well, if you can't beat them, join them. So then the entire roster pretty much joined joined the NWO.
Right.
So then you'd have infighting between them, and it split them up between the Hollywood and the Wolfpack, I believe. And then they fought each other, and then that went nowhere. And I think in the end of that, Kevin Nash, who was the leader of the Wolfpack, joined back up with Hollywood, which was Hogan's group. But there was still the Wolfpack, but he wasn't leading it anymore. And
It's a bit of a mess.
WCW in 2000s.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So another thing that didn't help is that WWE, being WWE, we're winning, aren't we? Yous aren't winning. They might win something here or there. They might win a belt, you know, whatever. But in the end, they're not winning.
Okay.
You know, they would bury WCW and then expect you to go, oh, but they're a threat. So, yeah. And the biggest issue with the invasion come with people jumping ship.
Right.
So you brought in WCW guys who then went, nah, we're siding with WWE. And then you had WWE guys who are fighting the invading force saying, oh, no, we're on their team. We're over there.
Right.
And they would do that all the bloody time.
Too often, to the point where it wasn't original anymore. It was sort of not a shock. It was just like, yep, here we go again.
Well, to the point where you couldn't figure out who was on whose side.
It was just an all-out brawl.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It was just like, oh, yeah, he's on that side. Then next week, oh, no, he's on our side now. Oh, no, hang on, he's on their side again. Which didn't help, obviously. So, no one could follow it. They then had to end it, right? Vince got sick of it because everybody hated it.
Yeah.
Wrestlers hated it. Backstage guys hated it. The writers hated it. The fans hated it.
And obviously your ratings are tanking.
Yep.
Your viewership's dropping. Just, you can see it going the wrong way quickly.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. So, Vince went, we're ending it at Survivor Series, which is one of the big 4 pay-per-views WWE did.
Okay.
You got the Rumble, the Royal Rumble, which is my favourite pay-per-view, most people's favourite pay-per-view. You got WrestleMania, which you probably heard of.
Yeah, definitely.
SummerSlam and Survivor Series. If you look at how WWE treats it, it goes Mania, SummerSlam, Rumble, Survivor Series.
Okay.
If you look at how the fans treat it, it goes Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Survivor Series is all about team warfare, sort of, you know.
Okay.
So you just sort of have teams fighting each other.
Yeah.
In what's called traditional Survivor Series 5-on-5 elimination matchups.
Okay.
So you have 5 people on both sides, and when one person gets beat, they're eliminated from the match, and it keeps going until one person wins.
Until one person wins.
Or
for their team.
one team wins, yeah. Like sometimes the entire team survive, you know, whatever.
Yeah, wow.
It just depends on what it's about. So they did that at Survivor Series 2001, and I'll go through who WWE and WCW had on their teams. We had on WWE The Rock, The Big Show, Kane, Undertaker, and Chris Jericho. So
Pretty good. I've heard of all except Christian.
Chris Jericho.
Christian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris Jericho.
Jericho. Yeah, okay,
Jericho.
no, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christian is a different person.
Yeah.
On WCW, they had Shane McMahon, Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, RVD, and Booker T. Now, I'll go through these people because the Alliance, right? Technically, Shane owns it, so cool. I won't have a go at that. But the only other people that are actually brought in from the Alliance is RVD and Booker T.
Okay.
Which doesn't make a great deal of sense because Stone Cold and Kurt Angle are WWE guys. You know, Stone Cold was in WCW for a bit, but he moved over, and that's where he got big.
That's where, yeah, okay.
Like he was sort of doing nothing in WCW, and then he come over, did nothing for a little bit, and then Triple H got punished for the curtain call, which was when Hall and Nash left WWE to go to WCW.
Okay.
Shawn Michaels, WWF champ. Triple H, Hall, Nash, and X-Pac were all a faction backstage called the Clique. So when they were leaving, Triple H, Shawn, Hall, and Nash all hugged in the ring after the main event at a house show, which broke kayfabe. Kayfabe is sort of the storytelling. You know, when you follow kayfabe, you don't have a good guy and a bad guy riding in a car together.
Gotcha, yeah. So for them to all hug at the end kind of
broke
the narrative.
Yeah. So WWE went, well, like it was filmed, a fan filmed it, which is why they got in trouble for it.
Yeah.
So WWE went, well, we can't punish Hall and Nash because they're gone. We can't punish Shawn because he's WWE champion. So Triple H, you get punished.
Copped it.
So he didn't wind up winning the 96 King of the Ring, which Stone Cold Steve Austin won. And that's the birth of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Gotcha.
Who is the biggest star in WWE history behind maybe Hogan.
Okay.
And
wow.
Stone Cold and Vince, their feud together is what really pushed WWE to compete against WCW.
Okay.
So it's all, you know. So Kurt Angle, by the way, he never competed for WCW. He was brought in by WWE after winning the 96 Olympics in wrestling.
Yeah.
Won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. He doesn't shut up about it. And now he's on WCW side because he's a bad guy.
Okay.
So he's on their side.
As part of his villain, yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. But he's on their side. So in the end of that, I should also mention Kurt Angle does eventually go to fight for ECW in 2006 when they brought it back.
Okay.
But this is in 2001, so it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, we're a few years.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. It's just stupid. Yeah, in the end, though, there was the final four. You had The Rock and Jericho against Stone Cold and Angle. All four of them are WWE guys.
Yeah.
So two of them are representing WCW, which, why would they?
Yeah.
Especially if they're about to lose. Why would you worry about that? You would maybe think Booker or RVD could be in there, and you know that would sort of
Because they originated.
they came from there, you know. So they won't give up because it's their home. They're fighting for their home.
Yeah.
The other two are just sort of, well, we're on that side.
We got told we were fighting for this side today, but like, we have no.
We don't have allegiance to
loyalty to the
Yeah. So, like, if you did it properly, even if you just had one of them in there at the final four, and then you had maybe Stone Cold if you want to keep him heel, which is bad guy. Heel is bad guy, face is good guy, because you don't know anything. If you want to keep him heel, I would have him turn on RVD, hit him with the stunner, have Jericho or The Rock, pin him, 1, 2, 3. WWF wins, you get the same result. Stone Cold's still a heel.
Yeah.
And you've made a babyface, like a top level babyface in Booker.
Yeah.
You can do it with RVD. RVD does eventually win the WWE title in 2006, 5, 6, one of them. And Booker does eventually win the World Heavyweight title in about 2008.
All right.
But, you know, if you wanted to do it now, you could. But, yeah, so, I mean, that's how they ended it. And it was stupid because it doesn't make sense.
No, and it's not what fans were expecting, I guess.
No, and I mean, like, I get that Austin's your top guy.
Yeah.
Between him and The Rock, they're your top guys. So, yes, you probably want The Rock and Austin to end it. But if you do it the way that I just said, at least it makes friggin' storyline sense.
Yeah.
Like, even if you've screwed it the whole way there, at least the ending makes sense. You know, you've told WCW getting beaten by WWE, The Rock beat Booker thanks to Stone Cold.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. It's a bit hard to go for a recovery event when you don't recover.
Yeah. So, yeah. Another thing that they did was they also made all the WCW guys bad guys. Because they're invading us.
Yeah. So
they're the bad guys.
By default, they should be villains, yeah.
Except they made DDP a stalker. DDP, he come into wrestling, he was about 40-something, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that's when he debuted. You know, he was the nicest guy in the world. Hell, he's helped that many people with drug and alcohol problems and whatnot. Like, he does so much for everyone. He's just an all-round good guy. You're a stalker.
Your character will be
a stalker.
Yeah.
So he's come in from WCW, where all the fans are now watching WWF anyway, because that's the only thing that's there. And they see DDP, who the ultimate babyface over there.
They know and love.
Yep, is now a stalker.
As in, so they've given him a character that he stalks, or they've just labelled him a stalker?
No. They gave him a character that he stalks the Undertaker's wife. Shows up at their house with a mask on, whatnot, so you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, just goes out, stalks her, and then eventually he reveals himself. Oh, it's DDP. So, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. That's just pissing people off. It's all right to make him the bad guy because they're invading, but don't change their characters too much.
Right, yeah.
Like, if you change their character too much straight away...
You're trying to take the fan base.
Yeah,
by taking just their characters and then completely changing them. You're going to alienate a fan base.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, it's the old adage of don't change too much too soon. Right. You know, if
you'll jar people.
Yeah, if you get something that's beloved, you don't stuff around with it too much. Like, you tweak it here and there over a period of time, and then everybody goes, okay.
Yeah.
It's completely different to how it was 10 years ago.
But that was a natural progression. It was sort of an adaptation over time. Not you've taken my thing, changed it, and tried to give it back to me sort of thing.
Which then, that obviously pissed everyone off as well.
Yeah, understandably.
Yeah, because it's WWE. I want you to remember that. It's WWE. Yeah. Oh, it's Vince. So, yeah, that was the whole bringing people in. They then brought ECW in when they brought that out, and they gave it to Steph because well, they were doing a whole McMahon versus McMahon sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing it for at least 2 years. Yeah. And so they thought, well, we'll give it to Steph. And ECW really didn't have much to do with the invasion at all, other than here's a couple more people.
Yeah, okay.
Like, they had no bearing on the story. It was WWE versus WCW with ECW.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't make any difference. Like, you could have not had ECW there and it would have gone the same way. You wouldn't have had RVD. And I think that's really the only big name you got out of that. So, doesn't, so what have you worked out at the moment?
So, we've got the WWE and the ECW is just sort of over here, but then the WCW, that's the one I'm trying to get. They've died, they've been bought out, and then to bring them together, WWE have said, all right, we're going to do this thing where their people are going to come in. We're not just going to, drop them in, because that'd be weird. We'll do, like you said, the invasion, but then they've done it really poorly. They've changed characters, which alienates fans. They've had people swapping and swapping sides, which just really destroys the whole concept. And obviously, they've sort of taken off in multiple directions at once instead of just following a... They've overcomplicated things, by the sounds of things. It's definitely overcomplicated for me. So, and in doing that, fans are mad at a lot of different things, and all that blame's coming back on this Vince guy you've mentioned a couple of times. Is he a creative director?
He's the owner.
Owner.
Yeah,
right.
He owns WWE. He recently retired in like June or something.
Okay.
I think he still owns WWE, but he doesn't have anything.
He sort of stepped back from creative control.
Yeah, mostly because he's been accused of giving multiple women $1 million payouts because he's Vince.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far we've got them trying to bring two things together and just doing it really, really poorly.
Yeah. Yes, that would be about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see what I mean? It's the biggest missed opportunity in history.
There really was this chance to pit two groups of fans against each other, which generates interest in
everything.
The whole. Yeah. Whereas they've just whereas in fact they've done the opposite. They've done nearly everything they can to flick off every original fan they can.
Yep. Yes, no, they took something beloved and they made you shit in your hands and clap because of it, and then went, oh, and you didn't like that.
Yeah, what?
You didn't like shit in your hands and clapping.
And it's one of those things where like it's all great to say in hindsight, but it's a little hard to imagine when you've got a group of people whose job it is to plan this ahead, sat down at a table and went, yeah, that'll work. Yeah. It's hard to imagine how that conversation went.
Yeah. Like, I currently at the moment, I'm listening to Jim Ross's book. Jim Ross is a commentator for WWE. He's now in AEW. And yeah, he was a part of the creative, not sort of then, but, and he was head of talent relations, which meant that he got all the issues from the talent. So he sort of knew what was going on without sort of being there. And the way he's explaining that, it's just WWE took a concept, went, how do we do this? Gave it to some people that sort of went, maybe like that. By this stage, I think they brought in some Hollywood writers as well, because Vince doesn't see wrestling as wrestling. He sees it as sports entertainment. Mm-hmm. Which, for a wrestling show, it's not sports entertainment.
It kind of, again...
Like, he...
Following this trend of losing original ideas.
If you... Matter of fact, he banned the words wrestler, wrestling, anything to do with that. If you said it, you got fined.
Right, you started using entertainer.
Sports entertainer.
Yeah, right.
Or WWE superstar.
Okay.
So, he also banned the word belt. Right? Championship belt. It's now just a championship or a championship title.
Yeah.
It's not a belt. Belts hold your pants up, is his reasoning. Which, yes, I understand.
But also, why be so nitpicky about it?
Yeah, well, he doesn't like you sneezing either. That's a sign of weakness. So if you sneeze, you're gone.
Natural reaction to something up your nose. Probably his bullshit by the sounds of things.
It's Vince. What you will learn doing this series
is that he is our villain.
He is insane.
Right.
And he is an idiot. But he's an idiot who is very successful.
Okay. Do we have a little backstory on him? How did he get here?
Yeah, righto. So, Vince's grandfather, I believe, was in the promoting business.
Okay.
Which helped Vince's father, Vince Senior. He sort of come in. He had the New York territory of wrestling.
Okay.
Which meant that he had his own sort of roster of wrestlers, his own titles, all that. And they were based in New York. He didn't travel out of New York. He sort of traded superstars with other territories.
And just ran shows.
Yeah, you run shows. So, he had Andre the Giant. Heard of him?
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, yeah.
Yep, so he had Andre the Giant. So if he wanted, let's say, Macho Man, he would say to whoever Macho Man is
being managed by.
Yeah, I'll give you Andre for 3 months or whatever if you give me Macho Man for 3 months. So then they did that, and Vince eventually inherited the business.
Gotcha.
Vince did think, why just stay in New York?
Yeah, sure. I mean, ambition.
Yeah.
Expand.
So he started expanding. And he'd buy out companies. Buy them. Some of them would refuse. Most of them were a part of the NWA, which was it stands for National Wrestling Association.
Yeah.
So
there was already an organization.
Yeah. So they sort of were there, and they might put on big shows where your Georgia, your New York, your Los Angeles, they all come together to do a big show. Yeah. So he started buying them out, and then with that, he would also buy their TV slots.
Okay.
So now he's filming.
He's got more airtime.
Yeah, he's not even more airtime. He's being aired in more locations.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So not just in New York anymore. He's now in Ohio and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And he's doing that. Yeah. So yeah, he did that eventually.
Started to establish sort of a nationwide fan base.
Yes. So he sort of did that, and eventually everyone sold to him because he would just run you out of business. He had all the top talents. He wasn't trading them with you.
No.
So you just got stale.
Yeah.
And choked you.
You were going to lose money. You might as well sell while you had it.
So he pretty much just put a choke point on the wrestling business.
Yeah.
And went, mine. Which he did. And then...
And obviously he had to do some things right to do that, but at the same time you can see... You can almost guarantee a problem is going to come with that.
Yeah.
In the case of any monopoly, the bigger you get, the more you're going to choke out your opponents. But also when you crash, the industry's crashed. Yeah.
So he did that, and now by this stage we're in about the 80s, and Vince, being Vince, sort of went, I want to get bigger.
Yeah. Well, and
so he put all his chips in one basket and said, if this show fails, we're done.
Right.
Here's WrestleMania.
Okay, which, by the fact that I've heard of it, I'm assuming went very, very well.
Yes.
Went incredibly well.
Yep.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 1 in 1985. It was sink or swim for the WWE.
Yeah.
Which was, the only other player in town was Georgia, which was WCW.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was sink or swim. Here we go. And they got it.
Yeah.
It worked. I think they made a whole bunch of money off of it. Like, they put in a whole bunch, but they made
on
top of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that happened. Main event of WrestleMania 1 was Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff versus Hulk Hogan and Mr. T.
Okay.
So
In comes some, yeah.
So
And
yeah,
it's the creation of
Yeah.
stars, which
Yeah.
would carry the industry for the
yeah,
next few years.
and like Cyndi Lauper was on the show. You know, like they sort of brought in a whole bunch of outside people
Yeah.
to generate buzz,
Yeah.
so they would get more. Like they threw everything at the
We
wall.
were putting everything in this. We had to put everything
Yeah,
in this.
yeah. So they did that. That went well. So then the next year they did it again and again. And WrestleMania 3 main event was Hogan versus Andre. And as WWE claim it, it's not true, but as they claim it, the first time Andre the Giant ever got body slammed. So
Right.
Hulk Hogan picked him up above his head, put him down. So, yeah, and that, I think, drew, well, it was in the Silver Dome in Detroit, I believe. The Pontiac Silver Dome, I believe it's called. Yeah, and that drew record numbers.
Yeah.
The Hogan versus Andre clash was one of the biggest gates they had
Yeah. Okay.
for a while. And from there on, you entered the golden age of wrestling.
Yeah.
Which was Hogan and Macho Man, all them. They were the golden age of wrestling. Vince was just making money off of them. And then they started to get a bit stale. But then the steroid trial happened, where they were sort of found of giving steroids to their wrestlers. Vince managed to not get sued. Well, he was being sued, but he won the suit.
He got out of his lawsuits.
Yeah, he got out of it. And at that point, he sort of went, let's get all the big guys off the screens.
Yeah. Right.
So Hogan was sort of gone, and I think he ended up putting Bret Hart over or something.
You're excessively shredded dudes.
Yeah.
To try and move away from this steroid imagery.
So you had Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels and sort of all these smaller guys, and they were they sort of brought it into the mid '90s, which the early to mid '90s, so 92, 93 ish till about 97, was one of the worst times for WWF. They were losing money, like they were gonna go out of business.
Because they've moved to these smaller wrestlers, or just their
Just the
storyline?
business, like the wrestling business in general, just tanked.
Took a hit.
Yeah, they like WCW had billionaire Ted behind them, so he just had money.
Yeah.
He owned Time Warner, I believe,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
Warner Bros, all that sort of shit. Like
Yeah.
he got money.
He had money. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't gonna lose money.
Yeah.
But then you had all your sort of upstart companies. They all just went.
Yeah. Started and flopped.
Yeah. So yeah.
Do you think? So this steroid incident that you talked about, did fans have a problem with that? Because honestly, in wrestling, to see, like in a sporting, like in your Olympics, obviously you don't want to see it because it's against the rules. It's illegal. In wrestling, just to see the guys get bigger and bigger and look cooler and cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a problem?
I think, if you're growing up on your Hogans and whatnot, it was a problem for them because it's now not what they loved.
Stood for, I guess. Okay.
They were there to see them guys, and they're not there anymore.
You've cheapened it.
Yeah, so them guys sort of left. You had some fans that were there going like, well, steroids are illegal, so
Okay.
obviously you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then moving to a smaller fan base, well, by that stage they've gone, I'm not dealing with you. Other fans, newer ones, I guess, were sort of watching it going, oh, this is cool. And at this point is when you're starting to get into Bret Hart, who he's just a wizard in the ring. Like, he was technically sound,
Okay.
you didn't have to rely on the big power moves to pop the crowd. He would do it by twisting your arm. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, and I mean, nowadays you sort of see that a bit more too. Because, the way that the business worked, like, once you got past all of that, Shawn Michaels was champ. He sort of helped, but didn't. And then after that, you moved into Stone Cold, which was Raw is War, the Attitude Era, Monday Night Wars, all of them the same thing.
Okay.
And that was all about pushing the envelope. Jerry Springer sort of thing, throw everything at the wall and see what stuck.
Yeah, okay.
Not in a financial way, just in a
Ideas.
creative, ideas.
Okay.
They.
What sort of crap can we sell?
Yeah.
And
they were always doing, evening gown matches or bra and panty matches, that sort of shit.
Yeah, right.
To get the male audience, and then you had, Stone Cold, who was over the top, sort of did not give a shit. I'm higher than Vince, sort of thing.
Okay.
So then him and Vince, obviously, yeah. And when Vince became a character, the Mr. McMahon character is the greatest heel in wrestling.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
And he created the, Austin was your major baby face. Vince was your heel.
Mm-hmm.
So Vince would do whatever he wanted because he's the owner. So he could just screw Stone Cold over and that's it. So then you want to see him get his ass beat.
Yeah, You've created this. Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing, though, is that it's everybody sort of looking at it going, well, he's beaten up his boss. I wish I could beat up my boss.
That'd be, okay.
It's sort of...
relatable.
Yeah.
In that sense of, like...
I'm watching a fantasy.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
And so then that sort of happened, and the Attitude Era died off because WCW was gone and whatnot. So, now that we've talked a bit about the wrestling in general, we'll get back to the Invasion. And you'd now know sort of what the Invasion is and how it went.
Yeah. How we got there.
Yeah.
Essentially. I feel like the backstory is a little bit important. We pulled away for a bit, but it's definitely going to make it a lot easier for you to explain what you're about to get into. As I've got a grounding.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was trying to do.
Platform to stand on.
Yeah, that's what I was that's the whole point of this, is that you know nothing, so I'd give you a sort of platform to stand on. And now I'll tell you how we do it better.
Yeah, well, so we're going to jump back to
the Invasion.
Start Invasion.
Yep.
WWE, WWF have just bought
WCW.
WCW.
Yep.
And they're trying to bring it together.
Yep.
They need...
Yep, so what I would do is I'm going to start by buying out some big contracts. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you don't need to buy everyone.
No.
You just need to buy a handful of people. They cost a lot. I think you buy Goldberg, you buy the NWO, all three of them. You get either Ric Flair or Sting, I reckon. It depends on if Sting wants to come over. Sting didn't actually come over from WCW until 2014.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mostly because he'd sort of seen how they were booking the former WCW stars, and he didn't like it, so he thought, no.
I'm staying away from that burning shit heat.
Yeah, I don't care. I've made my money.
Yeah.
So I'll just live off what I'm doing now, and then by about this time anyway, TNA became a thing. He went over there. So yeah, if you can make it so that Sting wants to come over, I'd get him, because you can do him and Undertaker, which is what everybody wanted. If not, then you go for Ric Flair, because Ric Flair is one of the greatest of all time.
Okay.
So the next thing you need to do is keep the Vince versus Shane stuff, because that sort of gives you the story.
Yeah.
Shane stole WCW from Vince. Vince ain't happy.
Yeah.
That's your conflict. Now you just need to get your rosters. And something that would help, because it didn't really do much in the first place. Who cares about ECW? That could just go away.
We'll leave that out.
Well, we can
save some money.
Yeah, we can bring, buy them out, whatever. You can bring some people in if you want, but you don't make it an alliance between the two companies. You just sort of forget about ECW, essentially. Who cares? It's about WCW, WWE. And so now I will give a bit of a timeline to when we want to book this. I would say we run from WrestleMania X7 to WrestleMania 18. There is a reason why I call it X7, because it's called X7. It's not 17.
Right.
You call it 17, I will kill you. It's called WrestleMania X7. It's the greatest wrestling show of all time. Yeah, fight me. So, yeah, you run from X7 to 18. So, 2001, 2002. That's your timeline. Next, we're going to start putting WCW guys over. So, they're winning. You know, I would have Goldberg debut after WrestleMania X7. He comes in and just spears The Rock.
Because it's not really an invasion unless your invaders invade.
Goldberg's big thing, he's a big dude. He doesn't wrestle for very long. If he does, it turns into a shit show. He has a move called the Spear. You probably know what that looks like, maybe. You could probably picture it. Yeah. You just run at somebody and you go bang. You spear them. And he does a very, very good spear because he just runs full pelt at you, hits you, and keeps going through you.
And it's a big dude.
Yeah, he's a big dude, and it just looks great. So I'd have him spear The Rock because it's The Rock.
Also a big dude.
Yeah. Right? It immediately puts him on the map. And you also say at Backlash, you go, okay, Goldberg versus The Rock. You don't have Vince suspend The Rock. I know that The Rock has gone off to film Scorpion King, I think. I think this is the point where he leaves to film that. And I know that he's got to sort of go and do that. But I sort of... You're writing him off TV by having Goldberg spear him. Mm-hmm. Just say, I need you back for this one date, which is Backlash. And I'm sure it'll be fine. No,
I'm sure he'd manage to fit it in.
Yeah. And really, he's not going to be there for long. He's going to be there to get speared, jackhammered, 1, 2, 3. Like, Goldberg's just destroying him, squashing him. Squash match is, he's been squashed. Like, he doesn't get any offense in. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Then I would sort of have Sting show up on Backlash if you're going to bring him in. He's just hanging up in the rafters like he did on WCW. He's inspired by The Crow. You know that movie?
No.
No? Good movie. Go and check it out. You'll understand what I mean if you do that. I can't explain it. It's... what's his name? Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the movie where he died.
Oh, shit.
When he was filming.
Yeah.
Yeah. He died in that movie, filming that movie. So, yeah. Anyway, check it out. It's good. He's inspired by The Crow. He just hangs around up there. And, matter of fact, have him do it at Mania. That'd be even better. Because you've got to, if I'm starting it at Mania, I guess we need to have something started at Mania. So he's just up there, you know. Is that Sting? There was like Sting up there. It's not going to be Sting, is it?
Gives your crowd something.
You know, yeah, sort of like
suspense.
Yeah.
You know, who the fuck's that up there?
Yeah.
And when are they coming down?
Yeah, that's Sting. You know, that's what Sting did. Is that Sting? Yeah. Anyway, so now what you want to do with Sting is not have the Undertaker fight him until WrestleMania 18. That's your main event match.
Build suspense.
Yep.
It's what the crowd wants. If you give it to them,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to go into it because I've got it written down. I'm sure I'm going to go into it, but you don't have Sting fight The Undertaker at all. You don't fight Kane closer to Mania 18, but you don't have him and Taker interact because that would, you know... Vince Russo, who used to be a writer for WWE, when Kane first debuted in 97, he's The Undertaker's half-brother, right? He's... all burnt up. He had a mask on, all that. Super creepy, super scary dude. Come in, rip the door off Hell in a Cell, which is just a big metal thing. Ripped the door off, got in there, stood toe-to-toe with The Undertaker. He was taller than The Undertaker.
Yeah.
And tombstoned him.
Up until that point, been the biggest, scariest.
Yeah.
And to someone scarier.
Yeah. And Paul Bearer had been talking, leading up to the match, that Kane was coming. Your brother Kane that you set fire to is coming. Which, yeah, so Undertaker burnt... also Undertaker killed the parents. He burnt down the funeral home that they were living in, which also is where Kane got burnt. Turns out he didn't actually get burnt, but that's okay. So, Vince Russo wanted to have Undertaker versus Kane. Makes sense. They brought him in, he ripped the door off the cage, and whatnot. Now, they were setting it up to have the match at WrestleMania, which makes sense. Except they wanted to start that feud now. And we're about 6 months away.
Yeah.
You ain't going to keep them apart for 6 months.
No.
Like, you can keep them apart for a couple of months, but not 6. That's half a year.
Yeah. At this point, crowds have forgotten that there is a feud.
Well, not even, though. Kane hasn't had a match yet.
Oh.
Kane come in, ripped the door off the cell, Tombstone Taker, and left.
And disappeared for...
So, we don't know what the hell Kane is.
Mm-hmm.
We just know that he's attacked the Undertaker. So then, what they ended up, like, Vince Russo wanted them to start that feud then and there, like, have them going back and forth, whatnot, which wouldn't work, because you need to build Kane up. So what they did was they had Undertaker sort of say, I'm not going to fight my brother, I'm not fighting him. So Kane would come in, destroy him, and I'm not fighting him still, I'm still not, and eventually you fight him, and what they did well was they had Kane just come out randomly, and whoever the hell's in the ring, you're dead.
Yeah.
Like, his entrance has always started with just fire. Just a big explosion of fire, and out he comes.
As per his character.
Yeah, red lighting, down he comes. Like, not even red light, dark red lighting, like almost blood red lighting. So,
Eerie.
Yeah, it doesn't show him as such. It just makes him look creepy. And he'd come down and destroy. One stage he did it to a whole ring of midgets. The WWE had midgets wrestling, and had their own commentary team and everything. Okay. And Kane come out, and you should have seen them shit themselves.
Well, I mean, if a 7 foot...
7 foot tall. He beat the shit out of the Undertaker. Like, he easily beat the Undertaker in that match. Well, he didn't beat him because he wasn't in the match, but easily destroyed the Undertaker. Hit him with Tombstone. Yeah, and they go, oh no, he's coming after us. He'd come out just randomly. People were wrestling. He'd come out, destroy them, leave.
Yeah,
which built him up properly.
Yeah,
he didn't have to have a match. He just had to be there.
Yeah,
and he just had an Undertaker tell him the story of, I'm not fighting him. We're not doing this. And eventually, it
sort of creates this Kane needs to be stopped. Undertaker needs to do it. Undertaker's refusing to do it. That's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, so...
so back to what you're...
Yeah, so, like... You don't want... Like, you want to sort of do the same thing with Sting. You don't want him fighting the Undertaker now if we're going to have the match at Mania.
Yeah.
And you can have him fight Kane, but closer to Mania because they're brothers. So you don't want to sort of have that conflict start too early.
You're going to...
Otherwise...
kill your suspense.
Yeah. You either got to start it too early and it becomes stale. Or you're going to start it too early and not do anything with it. And everybody's going to forget about it. And they go, oh, yeah, hang on. They were going to do that, weren't they? But, yeah, so you sort of have him, he can fight, just some of your top guys. Obviously, he's not going to fight The Rock because The Rock's not there. The Rock has also been killed by Goldberg. But you can have him fight Triple H or somebody, Kurt Angle, Jericho, Benoit, somebody like that. Hell, have him come out and just beat William Regal at one point because William Regal's the commissioner. So he sort of makes all the matches. So Sting being an anti-hero sort of creature of the night.
An invader.
Yeah, invader. Have him beat the commissioner. That would be a bit of fun.
It is, yeah.
It sort of sets him up as, I might not be on WCW's side, but I'm definitely not on your side.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The next thing, I'd give Booker T the IC title because in this booking, we're not doing the two-man power trip. So Triple H and Stone Cold are not going to have all the belts. I will say I am currently watching 2001 wrestling. I started from WrestleMania X7. I'm going to WrestleMania X8, which, yeah. I just finished watching Backlash the other night, which had the Brothers of Destruction, Taker and Kane, versus the two-man power trip of Stone Cold and Hunter. Triple H, Hunter, same person. Austin's WWF title, Triple H's IC title, and Brothers of Destruction's tag titles, all on the line. Winner wins all the belts.
Yeah, right.
Triple H and Stone Cold win the tag belts. The other two win the other two belts.
Yeah.
Whoever pins who on the other side would have won that belt. So I'm watching that now. So that's sort of fresh in my mind. And we're not doing that. As much as that's great, we're not doing that. We could maybe do it, after WrestleMania X8. But, yeah.
But for now, we're not
because we're going to have, the IC title on Booker T.
Okay.
Who should get it. Which, he's come in from WCW and he's won a belt. He's the first one to win a belt. What are they going to do now?
Yeah.
So it's sort of more suspense. And we haven't openly said they're invading yet.
Yeah.
No, it's just like, he's from WCW. What the hell,
Okay.
And, oh my God, he's just won the belt.
Yeah.
It's, chaos. Controlled chaos.
Yeah.
So then you can do a thing. I mean, do you turn Austin heel at WrestleMania X7? Probably not. I mean, the way that finished was Vince come down, helped Austin win the belt over The Rock. I think what they should have done and what they can do now is that happens. They Austin and McMahon raise their arms and Stone Cold turns around, hits him with a stunner. There we go. I win. I did what I needed to do to be champion. And then I beat him. So he's still not a good guy, but he's not a bad guy. So then, you're going to have Austin, Taker, Kane, just a few big names in the ring sort of discussing, I want the belt. No, I want the belt. I'm the champion, not you. I'm the champion. Whatever. Doesn't matter. You just have them in the ring. And you have a whole bunch of WCW guys come out, just the ones that you've acquired when you brought them. And then the NWO come out. And you have the NWO destroy the WWE guys.
To mark your sort of official invasion start.
We've officially invaded because, you can have Booker, you can have Goldberg, I probably wouldn't, and you're not going to have Sting because he's just sitting up
there watching all this happen.
Yeah, he's just there going, okay, what's going on here? You can have the NWO walk down, have them take down. I mean, Austin, Taker, and Kane are probably your three biggest stars
in your WWE at the
time. Obviously you've got Triple H and you got The Rock, but as we've already said, The Rock's cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
Triple H is a bad guy, so let's not have him in this at the moment. What I'd then do is I'd have Eric Bischoff, who ran WCW, into the ground. I'd have him come out and he officially says, we're going to have a 6-man tag at the next pay-per-view. But we might have lost the Monday Night Wars, but we're going to win it now. We're invading. We're going to do a 6-man tag between the NWO and those three. The world title's on the line. If NWO wins, we get the WWE title, whatever. And they're going to make sure the WWE does. If we can't win, you can't win. We are dead, but we're here. How do you kill the unkillable? By killing them again, which we will get to. But essentially zombies. is what they are.
All right.
They died when WCW died, but they're back, and they're going to kill the
They're
WWE.
trying to bring the WWE with them.
Yeah. And I mean, so you just sort of do all of this over a few months. You get your good guys, your bad guys. I mean, you could probably put the belt on Hogan for a while. In that 6-man tag, have the NWO win, established that they're, WCW's winning. There's no better way of putting it. They are winning.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously you can have, Jericho beat Booker for the title or something. Have it go back and forth a bit. But ultimately they're winning.
Your invaders are invading.
Yeah, and they're actually getting the better of you.
It's not a failed invasion. It's
Yeah. So then, instead of stopping at Survivor Series, we're going to go through to WrestleMania. We're going to have everything on the line, right? If WCW wins, they're back. If they lose, then they're not. WWE's still here. And, at this point, you have Sting and Taker, which Taker's going to win because he's got the undefeated streak. You can have, I don't know, Triple H against somebody. I don't know, Scott Steiner. You can have Hogan and Austin, I guess. Maybe, because you just do what they did in real life, have Hogan versus The Rock, which was like the greatest thing ever.
Being,
yeah,
two huge stars.
Yeah, and it was icon versus icon. You just build it the same.
And
except
The Rock's still a heel?
No, The Rock's face. The Rock's been face since Stone Cold turned on him.
Yeah.
But and since he's been gone, you bring him back at about the time, you bring him back for the Royal Rumble, he wins the Royal Rumble. I mean, you don't have to do that. I mean, Triple H won the Rumble in real life at this point, but just, I don't know, don't have The Rock win it. He got taken out by Goldberg, now he's back and won the Rumble. I mean, you can do Triple H versus Goldberg. That solves that problem. You got Triple H, who should have won, and you can have Goldberg, who wasn't in the match, take him out of the match. That's your conflict there. Go and do that. But the main event, I know it's going to be a shit match. I know that you probably want the world title on last, which is what they did in real life at WrestleMania X8, and it wasn't as good as The Rock and Austin.
Right.
The Rock and Hogan, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, The Rock and Hogan killed the crowd because it was just so great. And the last match was well, the crowd was dead.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you also set it up so that, you can keep track of the wins, and you'd have it even. So The Rock wins the WWE title back, which ties it up for the main event, which is WCW versus WWE, Vince versus Eric Bischoff.
Okay.
It's going to be a shit match.
Yeah.
We know it's going to be a shit match. But I think if you do it this way, The Rock and Hogan have already killed the crowd. You're just ending the show with this instead. Like, you can almost say that this is just a post-match thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the greatest main event of all time. It's not going to be anything. You can almost say the fans will look at it and go, Hogan and Rock were the main event.
And this is just a sideshow.
Yeah, this is just a post-match, send the crowd home happy sort of thing. And obviously, Vince is going to win because A, it's Vince, and B, you are keeping WWE around. Hopefully what this does as well is make WCW a bit more credible, and they don't sort of go, that was shit, and you can make WCW again. Like, you can do that. you have Vince win. The roster comes out and celebrates. WCW roster comes out as well because it's like, well, goodbye. And Vince says, we're going to keep you all around. Don't worry about it.
Mm.
You know, we respect what you did. You gave us a hell of a fight. We were just the better men.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're the company.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you have, I mean, like, you know, and that, I mean, I guess the next night on Raw, you'd sort of say, okay, we're going to change SmackDown and WCW or something. Like, you do whatever you have to do that. But you have WrestleMania end to pop the crowd one last time with everyone celebrating. Vince and Austin are in there, share a beer, Stone Cold Stunner. Vince has been dropped, you know. Austin's beaten up Vince again. Cool. Sort of the ending of the last WrestleMania as well. But I think after The Rock and Hogan, the crowd's going to be dead. You're going to have a shit match. You need something to
Funny.
send the crowd home,
Yeah.
you know, on a high. Austin beating up Vince is going to do that. Because it does every single time.
It's reliable.
Right? Yeah.
Um,
So, yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon of that?
I reckon you've. Yeah, like I said before, look, it's easy. It's easy to say all this in hindsight.
Yeah,
It's easy
yeah.
to look at it
And go,
now
if
and
we
go,
just did it this way.
if we did it this way, you know, it's. But at the same time, like I said before, there were so many things about the way they did the invasion. It was like, how did you sit down at a table? And I think it almost suggests that maybe they didn't. Maybe they never did, and that's how it got so messy. There wasn't.
Proper.
Here's how we're going to start this. Here's how we're going to end it, and this is what we're going to do in between,
Yeah.
more or less. It was just sort of ideas were being thrown out as they came. It was sort of like, all right, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do this. And when you're running it like that, there's no, we need to go back and undo that so that we can go this way. We've sort of started on a path and now we're stuck to it. So I guess explaining this out the way that you have, it's hard to say why didn't they do that because hindsight. But at the same time, as an entertainment industry, I mean, why could you have not sat down and said, how is this going to go? Follow each stream, sort of plan this out. It might not have been exactly how you would have done it, but at least
it would have been.
They could have solved problems before they ran into them.
They would have been able to. You would have been able to keep track of what was happening.
Exactly.
It wouldn't have been a mess.
Chaotic mess that it was.
You know, like the way I did it was controlled chaos.
Yeah.
Theirs was just chaos.
Yeah, like you've caused confusion on purpose to, you know, as shows do, as things do to build suspense, draw crowds.
Yeah.
Whereas they just, it was almost like they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess if you think about it from the way that it might have happened, is that they might have gone, we've got WCW, what do we do with it?
Well, and I guess as well, it was...
So it's now just a big stressful thing that we've now got all these people. What the hell are we going to do?
And one thing
How do we do it?
Couldn't help thinking was, you bought out your competition. You don't want to. I guess if you ran a good show with their characters intact the way that you just explained, do you run the risk of fans? Do you know what I mean? You bought out your competition and you haven't destroyed them, sort of thing. It's like, do their fans try and rebuild them? But I think the way that you did it, like you said, we're trying to bring two fan bases together, so keeping your characters, doing things that fans want to see. Obviously, you can't please fans all the time.
No.
But...
And there are going to be fans that look at it and go, they haven't changed anything. Like it's the same thing, it's just on one show now.
Yeah, and that would be, you know boring, I guess, for some people. But
I mean,
at the same time, you do what you can.
Yeah. The other thing, though, is that technically they could look at it and go, so you've got 2 hours for Raw, 2 hours for WCW. During the wars, you're now trying to fit 4 hours worth of stuff into 2 hours, so it could be sort of just
It's always gonna run
constricted.
Into problems. Yeah.
But I think that if you slow it down a bit and, have your major things, you're not going to get everyone on one show. You're not. You can't get 200 people on a 2-hour show. But each week, if you keep it a bit varied, you might have a big angle of Goldberg's destroying everyone. So you have Goldberg on every show. And all he does is come in and destroy people. You have Sting pop up every show just in the rafters because that's what he does. You could have him come down to, beat somebody up. Maybe it's William Regal and Kurt Angle because they've got an alliance going on. They're attacking Booker T. So he comes down and helps Booker because there's an injustice. Yeah. He's a vigilante. He is the vigilante.
Yeah, we've sort of set him up as this outcast.
Yeah, which is what he was.
Okay, yeah.
Like his nickname, his nickname is the Vigilante. Like when he showed up in WWE in 2014, it was Survivor Series, and I think it had come down to like a 3-on-1. If the Authority won, then Team Cena was fired or something. If the other team, like Team Cena, won, the Authority were out of power. Only Cena could bring him back.
Yeah.
And it come down to Dolph Ziggler versus, I think, Seth Rollins, Harper, and so I don't know. I think it was 3-on-1 anyway. And Ziggler took out one, and then took out another, and it come down to him and Rollins, and then the referee got, taken out or something, and Triple H got in and beat Dolph Ziggler up because Triple H was a part of the Authority. It was him and Steph. So then he beat him up, and then Sting came out, took out Triple H, took out Seth, and then Ziggler won 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Which there was an injustice. Sting fixed that.
That's kind of his character.
Yeah, that's what he did. That was Sting, and that was great. Everyone loved that. And then he got to WrestleMania in about 6 months, and they had Sting lose to Triple H in his first match.
Which, can't have him win all the time, but
I mean, if you're going to bring Sting in, you're going to have him win. Especially his first match at WrestleMania, and Triple H doesn't need to win. It's Triple H only won because it's Triple H.
They could have done more with Sting, is what you're saying.
And then they went on, Sting took on Seth Rollins and then had to retire due to a neck injury.
Yeah.
And now he's come back in AEW. That's a theme. People retire and then show up in AEW.
But yeah, so back to the way you did things. I can definitely appreciate that you needed to keep those characters, to keep those fans. And yeah, I can definitely understand trying to fit 4 hours of content into 2 hours. You've now got to do things each episode, like you said, to create a broader storyline.
Yeah.
Like you said, having Sting up the top there, he's just a small reference every episode, but it's now, you're really crafting a storyline that's going to span a period of time because you don't have time to fit it all in one episode anymore.
Yeah, and like with him being up there, and if you're gonna have him on the pay-per-view, with the Kurt Angle and William Regal stuff, he comes down and you set up a tag match now for the pay-per-view or for next week, whatever you want to do. But you've set that up, and now you can just have, you can have them being like, we don't really want to go and fight him because Sting might show up. Or you have, instead of him being up there, you just have him, lurking somewhere. Doesn't matter. You don't have to have matches every week. You don't have to have promos every week. You just have to have a short little 5-minute segment, if that. 3-minute segment of Regal and Angle. Just looking for Sting, trying to find him. Maybe they're up in the
Easter eggs.
Rafters. Yeah, maybe they're up in the rafters and looking for him to beat him up. And, you just sort of see him poke his head out from behind or something, and they're looking for him. And that sort of just might run all episode or whatever. You don't have to do it. You're giving more people time because you're not running constantly the same thing.
Yeah.
You're running little segments that's building the storyline, but it's only taken 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got 5 minutes to do something with someone else.
Yeah.
You got 10 minutes to do this with that. You know, the main event might run for 20 minutes, but it's building the story. You know, and it's the main event, so it should run a bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you were just all little segments, that would get frustrating, annoying, disjointed.
Yeah, like,
too hard to
and I
follow.
mean, especially with matches, you need to give them time.
Mm.
They had that many belts anyway that you could have belts on the line every week. You know, the hardcore title was defended 24/7.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can just have WCW and WWE guys clashing for that every week. And, you know, a new champion. And then at the pay-per-view, we're going to have, you know, a 6-man match or something where everyone's going for the belt. Or, you know, we're going to have a battle royal and the last person standing wins, which they did do at WrestleMania X7. Even though they sort of messed it up, but it's all right. But yeah, like, you can just constantly build with small little things, but also give things that need time. And hopefully you can sort of, if you rotate the roster, it seems fresh. It keeps everybody on TV. You know, they might not be there for 2 months, but, you know, they're back. You know, like the last time we saw them, this happened. Now they're doing this. As long as it's not completely different, you know. As long as it's not, last time we saw him, he was kicking Big Show in the dick, and now, hang on, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that, but as long as it sort of fits what you did, you know, just, you're writing it down going, here's a tab, keep a tab on him, this is what happened. You know, or maybe they got injured or something, you know, whatever. Like The Rock. He got speared, he got taken out. Sure, it was so he could go and film, but they don't know that. You've said, no, he got broken ribs.
Yeah.
So he's out, he's injured, you know. And then you bring him back, and that progresses the story. So, yeah. So, before I get into what I reckon doing it my way would have helped WWE, what do you reckon?
Like, not to rehash all points, but keeping a fan base. I've said it multiple times. I'm going to keep saying it. You're trying to bring two fan bases together. Your way doesn't... The whole reason we're having this discussion is because fans hated what they did.
Yeah.
Your way changes a lot of that, and therefore you're going to... you can't go wrong with keeping the fans happy, really. I don't know if I can say much more than that. That's basically, from what I understand, you would have kept fans happy, and therefore you would have been more successful. It wouldn't have been remembered as this big mess. It'd be, a more memorable event.
Yeah.
The combining of two things into this great new thing.
Yeah, you'd get more mileage out of it.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I reckon is that you're coming into this angle with a huge wave of momentum anyway, right? You're the hottest thing in town because Attitude Era, all that sort of shit. So, what you're going to do is you need to come down from that anyway, because you're up here the other way down.
Yeah.
So you jaded a lot of people by bringing people in and just stuffing them around. So then everybody's there going, oh, hang on, no, hang on, no, never mind. That was horrible, and you've ruined that, so I'm gone, you know?
Yeah.
Which is what you've been saying.
Hemorrhaging fans.
Yeah. So, obviously by doing that, they're going down. What I did is make it easy to follow. You've added more star power. You've kept fans happy, like you said. So, all of that should make you at least as popular. Like, maybe you're going to go down a bit because people aren't going to like everything you do, which is fair enough, right? So, it might not be quite, the top where you were with the Attitude Era, but you're never going to be there. you're never going to be up that high because that was the high. You're on the roof. Unless you go to the moon, which you're not, unless you're Cameron Grimes. Unless you go to there, you're not getting any higher. So, by keeping your popularity, though, instead of, nosediving, you're at least, you might be staggering down, but it's not just down. So you should have more money to begin with. You're buying out a whole bunch of contracts, so your money's going down.
You're spending money,
but you should have the interest in it now to make money. You got to spend money to make money.
You're going to benefit from this.
If you look at this setup here, I've spent a bit of money. I've got, I think that's like a $200 microphone. I've got like $400 worth of screens here. I've got a green screen that was about $100. Got a computer that's worth probably $500. I've got another one there that was worth a couple of thousand. I've spent a bit of money. Nobody knows where I live, so you aren't coming to steal it. Also, I don't think you want to steal it. I've spent money, hopefully.
To make money.
Yeah, hopefully in the future I can get monetized. Which, let me just have a look.
Back to these stars. If you're spending money to bring them in, but it's gonna improve this invasion thing, which it's not gonna tank like it did.
Yeah.
And therefore, anything's gonna be better than what they did.
Yeah. So right now I need 1,000 subscribers. I've only got 136. So do subscribe if you like this. There will definitely be more, and there'll probably be even more if you subscribe, because there's no point if you're not watching it to keep doing it. I need 4,000 hours of watched videos, and I've got 1,800 roughly, nearly 1,900. So, once that happens, I can start making money. I've spent a lot of money to hopefully make some money. Might not happen, but at the rate it's going at the moment, it might. But yeah, you've also, another thing that WWE did was, by buying out everything and making themselves the only game in town, they're very selfish and they don't really want to work with anyone. Hopefully by doing this and making WCW look strong, sure, they're under your control, but it looks like you're working with other companies.
Yeah.
On the surface, if you just look at it and go, it's WCW versus WWE on WWE, and WCW's winning, they're willing to work with them.
I guess that sort of answers what I was saying before about how, you've just bought out a company. It would seem the opposite of what you should do to make them look strong.
Yeah.
But I can understand how. Yeah. But you've just bought them, crumpling them.
Yeah.
You just bought them. You're crumpling a part of yourself.
Yeah. You spent all this money to destroy it.
Yeah.
It'd be like me buying, any of the, buy that green screen there and I put a hole in it. So why the hell would I do that?
Yeah.
I spent $100 on that, and now I've gone and wrecked it, so I can't use it. Just stupid. And outside companies too, nowadays more because you got more. AEW did a thing not too long ago, the Forbidden Door, where they worked with New Japan. They brought New Japan stars over, and you sort of had New Japan versus AEW, right? We've had New Japan guys show up on AEW. We've got AEW guys showing up in New Japan all the time. Hell, FTR, who was signed to AEW, are the New Japan Tag Team Champions. Right.
Yeah.
They're also the AAA Tag Team Champions and the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, but they're not the AEW Tag Team Champions.
Seems.
Yeah. Ring of Honor is owned by the same person who owns AEW, so, that's whatever. But AAA is in Mexico, New Japan, obviously Japan. And FTR is the IWGP Heavyweight Champions. So they work with them and go, right, we'll give you the belts if we can have them for, whatever.
We've hyped our viewership. We've maybe stolen some of your customers, brought them to ours.
Yeah. And it's all about exposure. They're giving...
shared.
Yeah, we've got the exposure. Right? AEW, we have the exposure because we're this new big company set to rival WWE. everyone's talking about us. If we bring New Japan guys in and people like them, they might go and check your shit out.
Yeah.
You know?
AEW followers will go and start watching New Japan stuff.
Yeah.
But also, you've now captured some of New Japan's market.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the Japanese guys go, oh, who the hell's that? Oh, we'll go and check AEW out.
This American shit might not be so bad.
Yeah. It's all about helping each other. WWE goes, and we're taking everybody. And we're not giving you anything. Matter of fact, we're going to take everyone, make them the worst, you know, like kill their star power, and then send them back out there. So then you can have them dead.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't help now that we've got the internet, because you just watch their old stuff and you go, oh, they were great. You watch them in NXT. They were great. So now they're going to go back to doing that. So everybody's just happy. But, you know, at least by working with WCW here, you should be able to make it look like you might work with other people. So then, instead of it being AEW helping New Japan's come to WWE. Said, here, we'll trade talent.
Yeah.
Like in the 80s.
Sure.
Like with the territories. We'll give you them, if, you know, for 3 months. If you give us them for 3 months.
WWE isn't isolating themselves.
Yes.
And and you're using the invasion as a example of that. A way they could have prepared themselves for now.
Help them. It's not even expand. It's just you know, like trading talent keeps your roster fresh. You know, it's all about keeping your product fresh.
And keeping interest, yeah.
You know, and you're going to gain more fans because, you know, you've got these guys from WWE coming over to New Japan. We'll check that out. Or, you know, our favourite New Japan guys are going over to there. We'll check out what they're doing over there.
Avoiding those whole periods you were talking about where fans were just like, oh, we know what's happening this week. Yeah. That whole dead period you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Where it all became so predictable because...
Yeah, all to, like, in the...
They were insulated.
Yeah, in the last... Like, until this newest era, like the 2016-ish era, was all, like, you either watched WWE or watched nothing, and WWE was nearly at its dirt worst.
Yeah.
Like, it was just boring. We'll get into it because it's got to do with Roman Reigns. Like, it was all about Roman Reigns winning.
Episode 2 stuff?
Episode 2 stuff. Because I think maybe we talk about that next, because it's a big thing.
Sounds good.
And yeah, it was just repetitive, nothing sort of linked to it. No long-term stories. They were always short-term, to the point, here's what you got.
Yeah.
And it was always, you know, this group of people are winning. This group over here are not, because we don't care about them. You know, we've picked these people to win. Everyone else, you know. Daniel Bryan was a perfect example, because the only reason why he became a big name the way that he did was because the fans went, he's our guy. WWE went, how, what? He's our guy. Oh, but why don't you, Roman Reigns, he's
who we're trying to push.
He's the good guy. He's our guy, though. Like, you know, can't have two guys.
The fans said.
You know, okay, we'll give you Daniel Bryan, okay? We'll give you Daniel Bryan. We'll have him lose to Roman so that it looks like Roman's better than him. So then everybody goes, oh, Roman is better than Daniel. And, yeah. And everybody went, no. No.
We see what you're trying to do.
What? Daniel Bryan. And then, you know, no. And it just kept going. And eventually, Daniel Bryan wound up main eventing WrestleMania, winning the belt. That was his big thing. And then he had to retire. But we'll get into it at some point. So, yeah. That has been the first episode of Stupid Ideas by a Bad Creative. Been a long one. I don't know how long it's going to be once I edit it. But it's been a long one. Yeah, like, share, subscribe to the channel, hit notification bell, follow the Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Links to those are in the description. Let me know what you thought of the episode, what you think of the series, anything that you would have changed. Let me know all that shit in the comments. Other than that, though, thanks for watching. Sid, say goodbye.
Have a go on.
Goodbye and good night.